push-up bar.
Punch bar. Holy shit! Let's get out of here!
Hey guys, welcome to a new episode of Flopbuster. This week we're covering Once Bitten, 1985 Jim Carrey classic? Not really.
No.
But probably a really forgotten film that a good amount of horror people seem to like and love. And
Yeah.
I got you guys to watch it this week.
You did get us to watch it this week, which was pretty great actually. It's nice to see Jim Carrey in his early 20s and trying to carve out his niche in Hollywood back in the day.
Right.
You know.
What did you think, Stephen?
I loved it. Yeah. It was a lot of fun. It was, dead center in the 80s. It hit everything. I know we're going to talk about it more, but I loved it. Yeah.
Yeah, so I would say this is like, if you think like when people go like, what's a stereotypical like 80s movie that just screams 1980s? This has got to be one of them. It has its own soundtrack of songs that are unique to the movie. You got a young star in there that would be famous years to come, but at this point he's not. You have sexy vampires, which the 80s were all about. You had to have that. Neon sort of coloring and sex jokes and gay panic.
A lot of gay panic. Oh man, the gay jokes here are pretty bad. Like when you go back to
when you look back at it,
really bad.
So let's jump into it. I mean, we could break down what Once Bitten is all about for people that haven't seen it at home, or if you have seen it, you probably know exactly what we're talking about. But we'll give you a refresher anyway, because this movie is very unique. But I think for the time period, it was just one of many different vampire sort of comedies.
Yes, absolutely. So what you have is the Countess. So part of her deal as a vampire is she has to drink the blood of 3 virgins before Halloween each year to keep herself young. And so she's based out of LA in the 80s, and they make it like a running joke, sort of like, hey, we're running out of virgins. There's like no virgins left in LA in the 80s. And so you have Jim Carrey's character come down from the suburbs, and she gets a hold of him and turns him into a vampire. And then the whole joke is she still has to drink, I think, 1 more out of him to like fully.
Two more throughout the movie.
So she gets him twice, and then that's the whole. Basically, the entire premise of the plot is Jim Carrey's turned into a vampire, and she's trying to drink his blood in a very sexy manner, because trying to get the inside of the thigh.
Inside of the thigh.
Forget the neck; it's the inside of the thigh, right next to the wiener.
I never heard of this in any other lore, but they say it in the movie as if this is a big, like, we should know this.
Right.
Like, oh, yeah, all the vampires do this.
It's Bram Stoker's Dracula was drinking next to the penis.
Yeah, the entire time. What's different about this movie is at this time period, a lot of the vampire movies were rated R. They were horror comedies. This is more of just a sex comedy. It's a sex comedy with a vampire. So it's much like a lot of films of that time period that I can think of. The closest I would say this is to is Teen Wolf, which coincidentally came out around the same time period.
It did. Came out in the same year, 85, and then I was telling you guys earlier, what's funny is that they originally wanted Michael J. Fox to play Jim Carrey's character, but they thought that he couldn't carry a film.
Yeah.
And then here he goes with Teen Wolf and Back to the Future the same year, and they're both obviously more known than Once Bitten.
There's a scene that you love that just kicks off the movie. I'll let you jump into it.
I mean, yeah, it's, it gets right into the sex stuff early. I mean, you've got the oil drills oil drills in the background, just penetrating the ground. I think we've seen that comparison in probably like a KY commercial or maybe even Naked Gun movie, something like that. But you got that, and then you just got this guy. He looks over, all these cars are creaking, and just this bare, faceless ass pile driving in the back seat of this car with the oil drill in the background. It's just, it perfectly sets up the tone of the movie, I think.
So Jim Carrey's character, Mark, he's trying to get it from his girlfriend. He's really frustrated because they're at a drive-in and everybody around him is like they're in Plowtown. Everybody's getting banged. There's even a moment where there's a girl with her legs up against a car handle, and I don't know, like, I was talking to Victoria, she's like, what position is that? What are they doing? Is she just, like, having the car handle, like, just pound the shit out of her or something? So it really sets up that everybody in LA is getting action but him. So he's kind of the worst boyfriend in the world at this point in the movie. That really kicks off the plot line.
Oh, yeah, because he really wants to get laid, so him and his buddies come up with the plan where, well, we're going to go to LA, and we're going to go to a club, and we're going to get laid by a random stranger. Which, if it's your first time, do you want to just get laid by a random stranger? I mean, I don't know.
I mean, not the people in the club that they meet. Certainly not them.
Wait, right. Which in the club gets us to our first really out of, like, that wouldn't pass through joke when, you know, it's a cool club concept, right? Everybody has a telephone with lips on it, and you call another table and be like, hey, I like you, you want to get a drink? So it goes into that, but then it goes into a transgender or a cross-dresser, if you will. I don't know. He's one of those two. And it's like the guy gets really freaked out and just like runs away.
Right, yeah. The friend gets freaked out, runs away, and the whole joke is that the transgender woman goes pansy or something like that. Yeah. Yeah, so that's where we have Jim Carrey for the first time meet the Countess in this.
Yeah. Very... I don't know, probably sexy Countess, I would say, for the time being.
Yeah. It was, I mean, at this point, all the vampires were guys. So I will say that's something that this movie does differently, is that it's a female villain, female vampire.
Right.
How
about her manservant, though?
Another gay joke.
Another gay joke.
He hides in the closet throughout the entire movie. That's where he is.
And then I think, they get Jim Carrey back to her house, right? And he's in her closet trying to get her a wardrobe. It's like, well, we already come out of the closet. And he's like, honey, I've been out of the closet for like over 300 years.
Yeah. We also have, she's got like pretty much everybody that she's turned into a vampire is under her command.
Yeah, which is part of vampire lore.
Different time periods and whatnot. You have all these kids sort of joining her, helping her. Me Too. Mark, he pretty much gets fucking raped. Like, he gets cornered and raped against his will.
I don't know if it was against his will. He wanted it.
There's a... I'll go.
I was going to say, the first time maybe, but the dressing room scene, I'd say he was definitely... that was not his idea.
No. Well, only because his girlfriend was there. But if she wasn't there, you know he would have been like, all right.
Sure, but there's also a moment when... they're getting in the car, leaving the nightclub. A little bit of backstory. We'll backtrack a little bit. One of the friends, they call another table at this dating place, and it's these two older women, and they go there, and things are going well. And it turns out one of them has a husband who's really pissed off. He shows up with a gun, and he's about to kill them. So that causes everybody to leave the club. But then it's revealed that they were into, like, I think they were into that kind of thing.
Yeah, they were. He liked to be cucked.
Yeah, after they're walking, they show after walking out of the club and everything's fine. Like,
yeah, she's like, yeah, Daddy likes that, or something like that. He's like,
Daddy was a bad boy. Yeah, you were.
Yeah, and she's wiping his face and stuff. So they leave the club, and Jim Carrey's being Laura Holden's like bringing him out the club, and they're like cornering him. They have the limousine. You have her chauffeur, her servant, and then you have her army of undead sort of teenagers. And they're like shoving him into the car, and he's like, well, what about my car? And they're like, get in, just get in. So I would say at that point it is rape, because he's immediately brought to the house and taken advantage of. Yeah. So I guess you could say Jim Carrey was the first one to be Me Too in this movie.
No, I don't know. I think he wanted it just as badly. I think he was just unsure.
Yeah, no. In the context of these movies, I mean, yeah, of course. But I would say probably the worst boyfriend I've seen in a movie ever.
You think so?
Yes.
I also think she was way too forgiving. Like,
Sure,
obviously,
wasn't
we
it?
found out that, nothing happened. I mean, she sucked on his leg, but, like, it was just not a big deal. And she just, like, forgave him right away.
Yeah.
Good thing, because, she helps him out later on.
Well, like, he just fucking gaslights her. And, like, he's just like, well, I was frustrated. You don't get it. And she's like, well, don't you think I'm frustrated too? I want to. I just want it to be special. And then, like, he just puts his arm around her and they walk away. And then, like, it's off. That's it. They're together. And I get it. It's a goofy comedy, so, of course, like, you can forgive that. But it's wild that,
the 80s were a forgiving time. You could cheat on your woman at any point in time and everything would be forgiven.
That's true.
Well, don't they even make the joke, like, she says, like, what you think I'm like I think you're like a 50s guy or something, right?
Yeah,
the way
yeah.
Yeah. So I thought that was pretty funny.
Yeah. So where else do we leave off from there? So pretty much throughout the movie, we have Mark slowly turning into a vampire.
Sleeping in the trunk of...
Sleeping in his trunk in his room. We got his mom sort of draining blood from a burger, and he drinks the blood accidentally or on purpose. He just grabs it.
The raw burger from school.
Yes.
Oh, yep.
The raw burger from school.
Which they set up earlier in the movie by saying that he loved, his burgers just charred. Completely charred, yeah.
He's like, it's already burnt. No. More burnt.
You call this well done? Yeah.
Yeah. We have his two friends that run this sort of burger stand place. And that's where we get most of the gay panic joke is those two guys.
Two guys.
The entire movie is just set up that they might be gay, but they're afraid of being gay.
Right. The shower scene. I mean, I guess we should just come into the shower scene.
Yeah.
And pun intended.
Another scene where like you would figure the consequences of that would be more sequential, but like Jim Carrey again is just like
right. Well, I mean, his
like
naked.
Whatever. Like, why didn't you guys ask me?
His naked friend gets him from behind, and so logistically, where's that dude's wiener in like regards to where he grabs Jim Carrey? Is it like in the crack? Is it
probably
like on like the top of the
sandwiched, maybe sandwiched in between? Like he just slid right in perfectly while he was up.
Because or I don't know, it's like a weird position. I mean, is like I said, it's like the hot dog in a bun type of deal.
What would prompt everybody to scream the F word was he erect or flaccid?
I mean, he lifted him up, so I'm thinking erect.
It was steamy in there. I don't think anyone could truly see what was going on. They couldn't even see his inner leg. That's why they had to grab him.
They saw two guys, like...
And the other guy was actually showering. Like, the whole premise was, all right, you go in there and you check his inner thigh.
To see if he got bit.
He's got bit. So the one friend does it. He grabs him, but why does the other guy, like, have soap in his eye, like, all shampoo-y and stuff? Like, okay, you're not there to take a shower.
Yeah, the whole point was that they find out if he's a vampire.
Yeah, which is, again, plays the whole weird part, right? You got the one guy from behind holding him, and then you got one guy...
The one below
look,
him.
Yeah.
Which the image of that is it's really funny. Something we should talk about is Jim Carrey, because he does this movie, and he sort of, like, erased off the face of the planet from Hollywood for the next 5-6 years. I mean, he did some things. He did the Deadpool with Clint Eastwood, and then obviously in Living Color.
Yeah,
this is really
his
supposed to be his coming out movie.
Yeah, and he really just it didn't turn out too well. I mean, the movie was #1 when it came out, and overall it made $10 million at the box office. I think production was like $3 million to make the movie, so it's not a bad return on investment, but it wasn't. I mean. It wasn't the his vehicle for stardom, you know. So he had to wait until In Living Color. So I think and I think he's mentioned a lot of times. It's like he struggled with his stand up, while in Canada, and I think he said he had like one last go around to try to make it in Hollywood. That's when he got In Living Color.
I wouldn't say he's bad here though. I think he's probably what keeps the movie going. He's
actually pretty good looking in this movie. When they have him with like as the vampire, the slick back hair, and like the suit and everything. Right. He's not bad looking at all.
He reminds me of Depp in his debut in Nightmare on Elm Street.
Right. I mean, they were young 20-year-olds, and the world was their oyster back then.
Which reminds me, there's another Johnny Depp movie. I personally love it because my grandfather loved it. And it's just a nudie sex comedy. A lot of these guys got started this way, jumping into movies like this. There's one, I forget what it's called. It's from probably around the same time, 84, 85. I think it's called Club Paradise or Paradise, and it's literally about Johnny Depp and I think his little brother hang around this like fancy club resort where these rich people come, and they just go to like stare at like women's boobs and stuff. That's pretty much the premise of that movie.
Sounds like they made a movie out of my life.
Yes, you, but now, not as like a 20-year-old.
Me as a 38-year-old.
I have to figure out what the title of that movie is.
But you know, a lot of people started off in horror.
Yes.
You know, like we said, Johnny Depp, now Jim Carrey. Like their first roles is always horror has always been like the vehicle for a lot of these people's superstardom. I think Matthew McConaughey also.
Well, yeah, I mean, Texas Chainsaw. That movie was shot way before Dazed and Confused,
right?
And then released after. Renee Zellweger. So like, it's just a lot of people.
Chris Hemsworth and Cabin in the Woods. Mm-hmm. So it's horror and horror comedy has always been like, you want to get into Hollywood, you start off in horror, basically.
Yeah, no, it's true.
Like, you want to do porn, you start off in gay porn. That's law.
Wait, what is that?
You don't know that?
I did not know this.
Guys have to start off in gay porn before they could transition over to male-female porn.
I've heard that, but I don't really care to know if it's true.
Well, I do know that most gay porn stars are straight. I don't know. I guess straight in terms of what they do in their personal life, but they're gay for pay.
Sylvester Stallone.
Sylvester Stallone did a softcore porn.
Yeah.
Yeah, he did. I don't think it was gay though, but it was softcore.
I think it was him on video. Just
they don't even see it. I can tell you, I've seen clips from it just out of curiosity. And it's like literally 70s softcore.
You know that's how gay porn starts, right out of curiosity.
Yeah. No, but well, it's Cameron Diaz too. A lot of these stars, like, there's a lot of people that did start this way, and they don't even do anything on camera. It's literally just like, literally as softcore gets.
Right, like Cinemax at like 10 o'clock in the morning.
That's literally what it was.
In the afternoon.
I forgot what it was called. It was called the Stud at Kitty's Apartment. And then they retitled it when he became Rocky, and they called it the One Night with the Italian Stallion.
Oh my god.
So yeah, I mean, a lot of these stars, it's either porn or horror movies.
Right.
Yeah, you don't just become a big movie star.
No, I guess you have to choose your vehicle. I mean, would you do porn or horror movie?
I will 100% do a horror movie.
I agree.
Yeah. Well, now will you do? I think the real question is, if you do gay porn, are you straight? Or are you gay for pay? Like, what's the... Where do you... Where does it end? Where does it begin? Where does your identity take over?
I mean, it's just like playing a game with your buddies. Like, how much money would it take for you to, do this?
Right.
It's just...
Yeah, you just got the director saying, suck his dick, I'll pay you an extra 10 grand. Got it. I guess, right? For those guys, it gets like that.
Just give a thumbs up with your mouth full.
Eat his ass. How much?
No, I've seen I've seen documentaries where it's just like they mention that there's a whole like pay scale you can look up where it shows the different tiers of how much these people get paid for certain things.
It's like if you ever gone to the Bunny Ranch or heard of the Bunny Ranch, there was a show on HBO called The Cat House, where literally you go into this sex house. They give you a menu, basically, a la carte, and it tells you how much each item costs from one of their performers.
I heard of this. This guy, they tried. There was one in Vegas, and they tried to shut it down. I think it's still open too.
They're not in Vegas because you can't do prostitution in Vegas.
It might be somewhere else.
So it has to be the suburbs of Vegas. You have to be like certain miles away from the city.
Somewhere in Nevada.
Yeah. And it's all fair game.
Yeah, that place is already a wild, wild west. Why would you want to? Anyway, it's getting off topic. It's getting off topic with Once Bitten. Once Bitten is, I would say a very, very fun experience.
Yes. I know Jess loved it a lot. You know, she thought it was fun. Jim Carrey's one of her favorite comedians to begin with. So when she saw it, she was like, "Oh my God, this is Jim Carrey. He looks super young. He doesn't even look like him." But then all of a sudden, you see Jim Carrey's like facial expressions.
He does it.
You know, like sometimes the way like he over accentuated a couple things, and then you get like, and you said, Steven, he had this Canadian accent.
The Canadian story in there, you could hear it. It's
right.
Yeah.
One of my favorite moments from the movie is it's a little joke at the end. After they run around the house, which just looks like a fucking soundstage, they're being chased by all the vampires.
It's like a Benny Hill skit.
Yeah, at the end, his girlfriend gets the idea, let's just actually have sex. Which is like what you would think in the first place, just to go have sex, and then she can't, like, turn you into a vampire.
So, like, she saves herself for a special moment, but then that special moment was then being chased by vampires in a coffin. And then with, like, under a minute, because then the joke at the end was like, well, you couldn't even have sex. You know, it was just a minute. And it's like, oh, yeah.
You did.
You couldn't have enjoyed it.
And we got Jim Carrey. They opened the coffin, and he just got 2 cigarettes in his mouth and shit. Very much like Young Frankenstein or something I was thinking of when I saw that. But no, it's a lot of fun, and I think it's crazy. You mentioned when you walked in, 10% on Rotten Tomatoes, which I think makes sense for that time period. A lot of critics hated these kind of movies.
Right. Well, critics back before the internet were a huge factor as far as whether people saw a movie. I mean, obviously Roger Ebert and Roper made a whole, not Roper, Siskel.
Well, him too, yeah.
And Roper
later on, yeah.
You know, later on in the 90s, but critics have always made or break movies back then. Now I think not so much, but you know, if somebody hated a movie like the critics did, that movie just bombed.
No, it's true.
You
and
know?
that was the case for. I mean, I don't. 3 million against 10 million. They made back 10 million. That's not terrible compared for that time period. Because
Right.
you would think, well, with inflation and everything, they tripled their budget. They went over it 3 times.
One of the interesting facts that I've read about the movie was the writer. They paid him obviously his money for the screenplay. He ran through that money, and then he was working at a video store, and a customer rented that. And so one day when he was working, he like returns the video and he's like, I don't know how they made this. The writing was so horrible. He's like, this movie just sucked. And then he was like, well, I wrote it. It's my movie. Like, can you imagine just being somewhere and somebody just telling you, like, without knowing, like, yo, you sucked. Like, you know, and having to be like, yeah, that was me. But it was just a crazy fact about the writer.
Oh, yeah, I can't imagine what else.
Also, like, let's say you got paid, like, $20,000 for this movie. Like, how could you run through that much money in 85? I mean, with inflation, 20,000
Cocaine?
is, I don't know, probably.
Just like copious amounts of everybody was doing cocaine around, you know,
Right.
around this period in time. I mean, you have everything was a teenage something, that teenage vampires, teenage witches, teenage everything, teenage Sherlock Holmes. So like it's just a studio exec with cocaine filled in his gums and his nose, going, well, what else can we make a teenager?
Did they do Young Frankenstein?
Young Frankenstein, well, that 70s was Young Frankenstein. But yeah, the 80s was Young Everything. And then we get Young Indiana Jones. So everything had to be like, how do we change it? We make him a teenager. That's it.
They had 3 people that used to be on, that were on the Friday the 13th franchise in this movie.
They did.
Yeah, like the weird fat kid from, was it Jason 5? When he wants his chocolate bar. He was in here, now he wants an ice cream cone.
Yes. Somebody I noticed, I noticed in her voice, but I couldn't tell if it was really her. I had to look up IMDb. Nick Offerman's wife is in this movie. Will and Grace actress Megan Mullally is in this.
Really?
Yeah, she's the one at the dance that says, oh, so we got Jill and a vampire. She's got blonde hair, and it's curly. She's got big glasses, so you really can't tell it's her.
Oh my god!
It could be her.
No, it is. Yeah,
you looked it
yeah.
up?
During the movie, I was saying at first I couldn't tell, but then I looked it up, and it was. It's her first on-screen credit, I think.
Interesting.
Yeah. So there's a couple of faces in here that go on and do, different things and
Right.
obviously Jim Carrey, for example. But I think this movie should be seen in a different light other than the movie that almost ruined Jim Carrey's early career.
No, I think so. I think this movie was arguably one of the best Jim Carrey movies. I mean, I know everybody loves Ace Ventura and The Mask and Dumb and Dumber, but compared to that comedy to what we got in Once Bitten, I think that even though he was younger and a younger actor, I felt like his work in this one was a little bit more polished and a little bit more, I don't know.
He's more straight man in this. He's not like, goofy and everything. He does the faces.
He does the faces, but it's
more
not.
subdued.
He's not exaggerated acting. I mean, I would say that he's done a better job in this one than he did in Batman and Robin, which was 15 years later after he did that.
Right.
So.
Any final thoughts from you? Any favorite scenes? Anything?
The chase scene. So right before they get into that final room, the guy just punches the hole in the door, and she says, before I have to replace these doors. Like, at least check the doorknob before. And I'm just thinking, like, well, wait till she finds out about the brick wall that the other guy destroyed and the foundation in the hallway that the other guy popped up through. So that door is nothing, but it was fun. Yeah.
That must have been a fun scene to shoot. It's literally just styrofoam and shit, just like flying everywhere. And then we get the big reveal is that Mark and his girlfriend had sex.
Yeah. So she turns into an old vampire, just so we could finish that off. So she just turns into an old vampire.
The Countess becomes old, and
she has to restart the entire cycle all over again. So she's old for like a year or something like that, from what I gathered.
Is it?
Yeah, because she said that she had to find some more versions, so she might have to go to Kansas.
That would make sense.
I thought for sure she was just going to end up dying. We just slowly seeing her.
No, she's like the Sanderson sisters. You gotta breathe in that like new baby life force. Which, wouldn't you just at that point, if you needed virgin blood, just go after like 12-year-olds or 13-year-olds?
She could just pay a kid and say, I'm not gonna do nothing sexual to you.
I mean, you just need an artery. Why just can't go back to like the neck?
Just go to like a clinic and wait for nurses to leave, and then go up to the babies and just go to the thigh.
Well, babies might be a little bit too young.
I mean,
you're just doing it to the thigh, though.
Early on in the movie, though, they established like that it was pretty disgusting, like to do younger people. So
yeah.
But I did think about that as well. But
because they said 11 is too young or something.
Unwritten rules of vampires, I guess. I don't know.
Yes, there's so many rules for everything.
Yeah.
I don't know. Certain vampire movies, they go after the babies too and shit.
Yeah, that's true.
So I guess it really just depends.
Really depends on the writer.
Yeah.
What you want to do.
You brought up something like, what it would be interesting if this movie was full on R.
I think, well, not just from the standpoint of like, okay, yeah, we'll throw some tits in there. It's 1980s, that's what we do. But like the scene where I think it's part of the chase scene where that piece of wood breaks off. You have the opportunity to do like a gory, little something.
Stake him in the heart or something like that.
So I think there's multiple things that, I just wondered like, would this have been better as an R-rated movie?
Right.
You could have done a little more with it, I guess. But
I'm guessing that I don't know what month did Once Bitten come out. I think it would really depend on.
It came out. Oh, funny fact! You should mention that it came out 1 month after Halloween, so it came out in November. Which is funny because the whole premise was built around Halloween.
Yeah.
We had a big Halloween party in the movie, but the movie comes out like Thanksgiving.
So I feel like had this movie, because it came out the same year as Fright Night, had Fright Night been out for maybe a year or two, I feel like they might have been more confident in making it rated R. Because Fright Night is rated R, it's got full-on nudity, violence, along with slapstick comedy. So I feel like the tone, but you would need stronger writers and stuff too to totally change that. But I would say keep the premise, keep Jim Carrey, and that would be pretty cool to have the R rating. Maybe still be funny, but maybe take a couple of the things a bit more seriously with the mythology.
Do you think we could reboot this with Jim Carrey now? Like his Jim Carrey's son now is that age, and then she's sort of like a young
Who would we cast in this reboot?
Well, we keep Jim Carrey as Mark.
Okay.
As a father, and then we just get one of these Stranger kids.
That's true. They're in everything.
They're in everything.
Or the kid from the new Predator movie. I can't remember his name.
Jacob Tremblay. We'll have to wait a couple of years. He's like 12. But I guess theoretically in this reboot, this is like 5 years down the line from now, so he will be of age.
Right. So I mean, we could, this movie. I think this movie could be rebooted.
Okay, so we get Jacob Tremblay as Jim Carrey's son. We get Millie Bobby Brown as his girlfriend, because she'll be of age at that point and whatnot. And then we need like a really sexy actress, but not too obvious for like a countess.
So no Cassandra Peterson.
No.
We're talking about like maybe an actress like maybe in her 50s.
Maybe
40s.
Cassandra Peterson, yeah, she's like 67 or 68, something like that.
She still looks good.
She does.
She posts on Facebook every year for Halloween. She still looks good.
She does.
The Countess,
they
wanted Elvira to be the Countess. The Countess.
Really?
They did.
That would make
they
sense.
wrote this movie with her in mind to be the Countess.
That's it. Well, when we meet her in the bar, her outfit is literally, just a wind's
like
breeze away
Right.
from nudity.
Yeah, it's literally like an Elvira sort of
I mean, we do see her naked in that picture, that Madonna picture she has in her house.
That's true.
But I think maybe you get like a Salma Hayek as the Countess in the new
That
movie.
might work. Selma Hayek might
I
work.
actually like that.
Sofia Vergara.
You know what? You know who would work? Because she could pull off the whole seducing guys but being very dangerous. Angelina Jolie.
Yeah.
Angelina Jolie has a danger about it. Like, just like, you don't mess with somebody that carries blood around her neck or anything.
No.
She's already a vampire.
She looks like a vampire.
There we go. We have this movie cast and we could reboot this.
We could literally reboot this like tomorrow.
Right. And it continues on, it builds on its lore because you still have Jim Carrey in it.
Yeah, you still have Jim Carrey in there. You could have, like, maybe Angelina Jolie's a descendant of the character from the first movie. And it's just totally coincidental that it'll happen to his son.
Yeah.
And then we have this all-star cast, and it could be a Netflix exclusive.
Or Hulu or Amazon.
Hulu or
whichever
Amazon.
one. Whoever wants to pay.
Yeah, whoever wants to pay.
Highest
for this
bidder.
movie.
Highest bidder.
Yeah, whoever wants to pay for this movie. But I think we have a big hit on our hands that plays into nostalgia.
We just need a producer that likes to provide, cameras and audio recording for us.
I know somebody who's available. Harvey Weinstein.
Oh my god.
That about wraps my
Yeah,
thoughts up.
absolutely. I think we all loved it. We all enjoyed it. We all thought it was a great movie. It wasn't really a flop. I mean, it was because of the critics,
Obviously, yes.
obviously, but we all thought that it should not, at the end of the day, not be considered a flop. Make sure you go watch it. Leave us a comment if you've seen it, if you loved it, if you hated it. Tell us why you hated it. Just let us know why. Just comment, people. Somebody. We need comments.
Any final thoughts?
No, watch it. And Prime and Tubi, as of right now, is where you can watch it.
Yes.
Yeah. Prime and Tubi.
I think this movie's a lot of fun, and I think the whole point of the show is to redeem things, revisit stuff that we thought, oh, that's not that bad. Why do people hate that? And then we go back and watch it, and then go either, wow, they really deserved it. And we've had some movies on the show that have done that, but this is the case, much like last week with Club Dread and Where's My Car, that I think that maybe people are way too harsh on the movie, and I think if you have fun...
Don't forget the pest.
I am going to forget. I gave it maybe the best. But I think if you have fun with this movie, I think it's so cool. It's like you put it on the background. It's got a really good soundtrack. You got Jim Carrey. There's a dance number. It's a whole dance sequence. So
that's right. We didn't talk about that.
We did not talk about the dance sequence.
We'll just talk about it really quick. Sorry. As the opening credits are coming, I'm sitting there with Amanda, and she's like, "Oh, choreographer," and I'm like, "Yeah, whatever. Little fight scene, a little bit of dancing. That's fine." And then we just full footloose scene just right in the middle of the movie. What was that? Right before she was about to strike for the second or third time?
Right, for the third time.
That dance saved his life.
Yeah, and the song is literally what's happening in front of you.
Yeah.
Like something about the lyrics going, "He's mine, he belongs to me," or something like
Yep.
that. Yeah. Probably made for the movie, too.
Yeah.
Yeah, his girlfriend and the Countess
Yes.
fighting over him.
Yeah.
Fighting over him. But yeah, this movie's
I'd
got
have been like, just girls. Just we could settle this.
Jim, that's what he should have done. No, but I feel like, again, like this is definitely on the higher tier of Flopbusters, I guess. That
Yeah, absolutely.
we've covered. So check it out, and if you're a big fan, let us know your favorite scenes. Do you own it on Blu-ray? I think I'm going to end up picking it up because I know it's got a special release. So yeah, let us know. Comment down below, and we'll see you next time.